very next two steps that we're going to take on this project is going to be taking this ceiling down. We're going to take it right down to these beams that are in here and get rid of all this junk, the shims, the sheetrock, the insulation, all that stuff. And then we're going to shim that down so it's nice and flat, level, and then reinstall some drywall. The other thing we got to do is make a doorway through here. I don't want to put this bathroom wall here because there's going to be no door on it. I don't want to put that there until we got that doorway framed out over there, because otherwise we'll have to walk through the studs to do work. So what we figured out in this area is that the toilet is right here, and there's like this bench behind the toilet to like route the pipes for the rest of the bathroom. So we're gonna push that toilet back to the wall, which is gonna bring us right on the other side of this joist right here. So then we can take our waste pipe, bring it over here, down this wall. I might have to box out that wall a little bit. I'm not sure. I gotta get into that. Either way, we'll remove that mold and sheetrock and stuff. And then we can box off the waste pipes right there. Put our entry to the bathroom right here, and a new entry for the bedroom right here. We were originally going to come through that way right there, but that is the addition. So dining room's going to be right there. So I didn't want a door going into the bathroom right next to the dining room. So this bathroom is unvented. So what we also have to do is come up from there, go through the roof with a vent. We're going to have to put some vents in this new bathroom too. We're going to have 2 different vents, but I'll get into that in a little while. In the meantime, we got to get all the rest of this little bit of insulation in here. Some of this is blown-in insulation that we installed, but we'll get this all shimmed up, ready for the new ceiling, and we'll run our electric. But in the meantime, we're going to work on getting some electric in the rest of this room right here, and that way we can get the walls closed up. Wire was in the ceiling here. It's a good thing that we were taking things down, because this is just bare wire right here. There's not even any insulation on this part. Animals just chewed this completely apart. The jacket's gone and the insulation is gone. We had a beam going from here to here, and it was completely rotted out, so we're going to add a new beam in, and we're going to make one out of 4 plies of 2x8s, and then I'm going to weld up a bracket to go from this beam into the 4 of them. think I'm just gonna drop it down until it can't go. Take the Sawzall, cut it, and then drop it down more.
Remember you grabbed 2 brand new blades the other day and you sent them over here.
I thought I had a blue one too. I think it was this one. Maybe it was. I thought it was brand new. This one's worn a little bit. Wowza.
Got this all framed out and ready to install some electric and some drywall. So the way I designed this is it bumps out from the wall like a foot, and that's so that we can get a full-size door into here, because this beam right here is not allowing us to get anywhere even close to a full-size door. You can see that you would need to lop like at least 4 or 5 inches off the bottom of the door to make this work. So what we did is put this little dividing wall coming in, so that that's the new jack for that beam, because that's holding up the second floor there. So that's just going to be a short little wall going into here, and then here's the doorway. And what I did is, you always want to leave enough room for trim, so at least 2 2x for trim. Even that's a little bit close, because when you put it on, it's going to be right next to the edge. We also brought it that way a few inches, and that is so that we can put a switch in here. And again, we have just enough room for trim right here. And so over top, we have this little shelf that you can put stuff like antiques or trophies or plants or whatever, you know, decorative things. And you can see we bumped it out there too, so there's another shelf up there, and the beam is right up to it. This is not totally ideal, but we really needed the space in the bathroom. When you're installing electrical boxes, you need to make sure that they're not too big or too small for what you're doing. So inside the boxes, there's actually a fill count. You can see just to the left and on the bottom of that circle right there, it says 11, 14, 10, 12, and 9, 10. So 11, 14 means you can put 11 wires in if they're 14 gauge. So the way that that works is every wire counts except for a ground wire. Ground wires only count as one wire no matter how many you have in there. So basically we can put up to 10 14 gauge wires in there, and that will leave one for the ground. This box is too big. This is a 22 cubic inch box. This is too big for a 2x4 wall. You can see it fits, but what the problem is the wire is not going to be at least 5/8 away from the edge, which is required by code. You have to have at least 5/8 of space between any point on the wire and the edge of the stud. So for this application, a 22 cubic inch box is not going to work. So if you use a 20 cubic inch box, you can make that work. Once you put the staples in, you could staple it in a manner where it would be 5/8 or more away. But for this application, I'm only coming in and out of this box with 12 gauge wire. I know that an 18 cubic inch box will work because I'm only coming in with a 12 gauge wire and going out with a 12 gauge. If you were going to have another 12 gauge cable coming into here, a 20 cubic inch would be ideal. Because see here, in this box it says 912. I always run the top of my boxes at 18 inches unless otherwise specified. just about done with the framing in here. Got this dividing wall up now between the bath and the shower. I got it spaced out so that we can put the valves right here for the bath, and again right here for the shower. I didn't want to put them back to back because you need a little bit more space in the wall, and I don't have that space. You can see I'm right up against the window here. So the only thing I got left to do in here for framing is just this little ceiling on this closet right here. We ended up shimming up this wall right here. You can see this shim right here. That way it's dead plumb, and when you're putting in tiles in a shower, it really is important that you have all the walls plumb. Otherwise you'll see it in the lines of the tiles. So on this side, this is just going to be wall, and there's going to be no tile, so it doesn't matter. So we don't need to mess with shimming this out. And since this wall is dividing it right here, we can get away with that. We ended up shimming down the ceiling, and what's nice about that is it connected right to this wall right here. So now this wall is really strong, because otherwise that was just kind of hanging there, and I could have maybe attached to that beam right there, but this makes it a lot stronger and ties this wall in too, because again here it's kind of weird, there's really nothing there. I thought there was a sill plate just behind the drywall that the trusses were resting on, but there wasn't. The trusses are not resting on anything there, so they're just freestanding. So we got this closet in too. I decided just to leave it down like that. That way it's another spot that you can put stuff like plants or trophies or antiques or whatever. Same height as that one. So one of the reasons behind framing these walls like this was so I could get a switch right here. Because we could have just jogged back over here, but then there had been no room for the switch. This is nice because when I go to test the system and put pressure to it, it's already got a cap on here. Inside this little bathroom in here, it was kind of weird because the floor had like 4 inches of thickness that we had to take out to replace the flooring in here, because they used like a full 2x, which is actually 2 inches, plus 3/4 of plywood, plus some planking on the bottom. So we got rid of all that, and we're just going to go with 3/4 Advantech here. We got our new plumbing right there. Waistline for the sink. Vents are behind that wall. So now, what we also did is shim up the floor. So you can see we got about 1 inch there to 1.5 inches over there, and then to nothing over here. So this is all dead level now. I don't think it fits in there. Maybe it fits.
Oh, dude.
Alright guys, so I don't really have a lot of video to show for the plumbing, so the least I could do is go through it with you guys afterwards. So right now I'm at the point where I'm going to test the whole system. So here's where I'm at. We got a freestanding tub right here, 1.5-inch pipe, 2-inch pipe for the shower. And then we got pedestal sink right here. We're going to use the old one that we took out. So I thought I could get away with 2 vents, but it turned out that I had to have a vent there, a vent there, and a vent there. And they're all kind of re-vents because they're just far enough away where I couldn't use one for the next. Our toilet is right here. So then they all combine right here and go up. And then I'll show you where they go from there. But let's go downstairs and I'll show you what I got underneath it here. So here's the entrance to the crawl space. I'll bring you all the way over to the other side of it. All right, so since this is accessible, I can put a union here. That way, if I ever need to take that off, it's easy, it's not glued. You wouldn't want to do that in a finished space though, if you can't get to it. So then there's my vent for the bathtub, and it's also close enough to vent the shower. 1.5-inch pipe is easily able to do this whole bathroom, but since I'm more than 6 feet away, I need to vent it again. And so right here, this is gonna be, oh yeah, we got this radiant heat plates in here too. That's kind of an early sneak peek on that. But so right here, that's 2-inch going up to 1.5-inch right up there. And that is just for that pedestal sink. This is the toilet. And then we have a Y here. And this is for the upstairs plumbing. How it all comes together here. Goes across here, there's the old stairs. So before I go any further that way, let me go upstairs and show you where I came from up there. Up here we have a toilet rough in right here. Always has to be 12 inches away from a finished wall. Going that way, and going this way you have to be at least 15 inches. That's because the toilet's facing this way. If it was facing the other way, it'd be the opposite. You always have to have 15 inches from the center line over to the finished wall, and 12 inches from here to the back wall. 95% of the time that measurement is right. Once in a while you get a toilet that's more or less than 12 inches, but that's the standard. Nothing was vented at all before, so I added a lot of vents. So I couldn't do one vent right there because it's more than 6 feet away. So rather than wet vent it, because I like to avoid going through a 2x4 wall with a 2-inch pipe if I can. I don't mind going through the top and bottom plate if I need to go vertical, but I try to avoid going left to right horizontal on a 2-inch pipe because there's not a lot of the stud left when you're done. So I could have wet vented this over to this vent over here, but it was better just to do another vent right there. So let me show you behind this wall what's going on with that. Now I'm in the addition, so right there is the bathroom. So you can see what I did here. I got my stack going down, and I have my vent going up for the toilet, and then there's my drain for the pedestal sink upstairs, and there is a revent going up. And then I also have another vent going all the way down here for the kitchen. So right here there's going to be an island, and then underneath there's going to be laundry. So I'm venting that back over to these vents. I can get away with putting that all on an 1.5-inch vent, bringing it over, and then you see that I have it combined. All here. And the way I have it combined is I have kind of like a 2-inch vent stack, so they both go into it. So basically in one circuit, I guess you could call it, I have the downstairs bath, and then on this circuit here, which is separately going into that 2-inch pipe, I have everything else. And then they go from 2-inch to 3-inch, and the code is here that you have to go out the roof with a 3-inch vent. At least one of them has to be 3-inch. So I just decided to combine them all there, go up through with a 3-inch. You got to have it for at least 18 inches below the roof. So then I have some piping going over to here. This is going to be for the island, 2-inch pipe, and then I just kind of went off with 3-inch here. That's going to be for the laundry. We're actually going to need a sump pump to do the laundry because we don't have the pitch going into the drain over there. So then immediately right through that wall, you can see I have a vent going up, coming out from over there, going along here. I left an extra spot there for a condensation pump. Everything's capped off though. So then it comes over here and combines with everything else here. So now we have some test spots here. So what I have here is 2 different ways to test this. So I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. So I want to pressure test this whole system, and the way I can do that, some people will do it with air, but that's kind of dangerous. So I like to use water, and what you do is you have a clean out that you can block off. Basically it blocks off from right here over. So normally you would just have one of these, but because of the way we had to do things, we had to come in this way and come in this way. So I actually had to do 2 different clean outs with test ports on them. So I have 2 different kind of testers. One is an older one that I've had for a while, and this one is a newer one here. So let me show you what both of those do. And by the way, here's a clean out right here too. But what I didn't want to do was come off with a double Y right here, because then you don't have each pipe going at a pitch into it. They just go straight out to the side. And that would still work, but I don't like to do things like that. I like to give it a little bit of pitch going into whatever the main line is. So the way that this one works, there's like a little balloon inside of here, and right there is where you fill the whole thing with water. So you got to make sure that that is facing in the direction of where you want it to go. So it's got a little Teflon on the threads there. You put this in until it's all the way tight. And you got to have a pretty flush T there. You don't have to get a flush T, but like the next step up. So this kind of screws in until you can get it facing the right way and it's tight. Okay, so you can see it says test side. So that's where you put your water in, and you can fill this whole thing up with water through here. You could also put a garden hose in the vent coming out the roof, but this is a little bit easier and you have more control over it. So here is actually an inflation bladder. So what this does is it inflates that balloon inside of there, so it blocks it off so that the water can't go down. So the idea is that you want to fill this whole system up with water all the way to the roof and make sure that there's no leaks anywhere, especially in places where you're going to be covering it up. So that takes care of this side. This is all blocked off once I put some air in there. So here's a different kind of tester right here, and this one actually comes with its own T. And the whole idea behind this one is there's like this wedge here, right? And what you want, that's the water port right there. So what you want to do is make sure that that's facing the way that you want to test it, which is that way. We don't want to get any water that way. So you put it in there just like that. You can see how it's formed in there. You can see those little seals there. It kind of wedges itself in there, and then you can tighten it up. And this one doesn't have a bladder, so you don't have to fill it up with air. So that's nice. That's an extra step that you can kind of eliminate. So once you get this all tight, I'm gonna go ahead and fill it from this one. You could do it from either one, but I just found it to be easier on this one because this one's got a valve right here. So that's kind of nice, but I also have a valve right here for testing it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hook up a PEX pipe to here with some water. This is just a garden hose fitting here. I just adapted it to PEX just because I don't really have a hose right here that I can test it with. But you can usually use a regular garden hose. Same thing with this one. This is threaded for garden hose. And it's also got a 1/4 inch thread on the inside too, if you need that. This one doesn't have that on the inside. But overall, I think this is a little bit better of a system, but they both work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some air in there, put the PEX pipe on here, and we're gonna fill this up and test it. So you wanna put 35 pounds of pressure in here. And it doesn't take very much at all to do that. So there's 35 pounds. Now we can fill up the system. This port right here has a check valve type thing on it, so you can leave it open like this. But I guess I'll just go ahead and put that on there. So now I can hook my PEX pipe to here. So right now I'm in the process of redoing all of the supply lines in the house, so this is the only thing that's hooked up. It's going to have a little air in it to start with. So we're going to go ahead and let some of that air out, mixed with some water. And now we wait for it to fill up. So now I can go ahead and look out on the roof and wait for it to come out of the vent. All right, here comes the water. It's making its way right up. There it is. So to let the water back out again, I'm just going to let some air out of this side. As soon as I do that, it starts coming out. There's a lot of water in there, so probably going to come out of this clean out here. Yep, sure it is. Just a lot of water coming out. And then once I get some of the pressure off, I can unscrew this a little bit. In here, there's not much electric going on. Got it all insulated. This stuff is really nice. It's rock wool, and it's made out of steel slag. The advantages to using this over fiberglass is, first of all, it's much more fireproof and it's more water resistant and it stays in its form much better. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's definitely worth it. It's not nearly as itchy as the other stuff. So we're ready to go ahead and drywall this room. The bathroom is almost ready. Just got to do a little bit more electrical, and then that'll be ready to sheetrock too. To give you guys a better idea, look, I'm going to drip some water on it. It's water repellent. It literally just beads right off of it. Same with the floor too. This Advantech is the same way. You can see it's just beaded right up. Working with these kind of materials is really nice because it's never perfect with the weather conditions, and you can always run into rain or snow or both or cold or whatever. So it's really nice to work with materials that aren't really affected by that. It's not going to last that way forever because the sun will degrade it. So 6 months is about the best you can get. But this stuff stays water repellent forever. Look at that. It's just not even soaking in at all. Even if you were to soak this in water, it never gets affected by it. So it's good for areas that get condensation in areas prone to flooding and stuff. Works really good for that kind of stuff. One of the best things about it though is that it's made from recycled material that was otherwise going to be wasted. This is made from steel slag, so it's just waste that you would otherwise have to pay to throw out and put in a landfill, and they reuse it, and it's some of the best insulation you can use.
It's either a lightning rod or a weather pane. The biggest thing I care about is where you are on your halfway on your stud.
Well, I would give you an answer.
White break.
What we're doing here.
As much as you can. As far over as she goes.
guys, so this portion of the project is done. Everything is all drywalled in. Electric and plumbing are roughed in. Doors are installed. So this entrance right here, I thought it would be kind of cool to leave this little beam here. So it's still rough because we haven't taped around it yet, but this is an original beam from this house, which was built in the 1820. Pretty sure this was original to the 1820. There's the bathroom. Probably put a closet right there. There's that little bump out right there. That was that little jog out on the addition. So the shower valves got delayed and the tub valves got delayed. So I left that out for right now, but one of the next moves in here is to tile the floor, to tile the shower. It's going to have a tile surround and a tile base. The tub is just freestanding, so we just need to install the floor first. And the pedestal sink is also freestanding, so we need to install the floor first. The customer told me they have an offset vanity light, so that's why that's not centered on the drain like it usually is. Up here, we're gonna blend that in with what they had here. And then that will look pretty nice. These lights are awesome. I would highly recommend a 3-inch light. I hate those big lights that take up so much room on the ceiling. These ones are so much nicer. And they're really bright too. So I don't really care for this little bump out right here, but there's a few reasons why I had to keep that there. Number one, when I went to go try to take it out, it looked like it was holding a little bit of weight. But the most important thing is we weren't going to be able to get it flush with here because we'd have to have it a 1/2 inch back from here so that we could put sheetrock on. That way it would continue right out like it was never even there. But that wasn't going to happen because there was another stud, thicker than a stud, right behind here. So we would have to take that out. I also had to have a junction box for these wires because I had no other place to put them. And whenever you're eliminating wires, you need to be able to put it in a junction box. It has to be accessible. You can't just put wire nuts in it and stick it in the wall. So that was kind of the deal with that. It's not really ideal to have an outlet that high. But at the same token, there's no light here. So the customer can plug in a lamp and put a stand right next to it. That way he can have a light for walking out of the bedroom into this room because there's no other light right here. I also utilized some more wires that were up here that needed to be capped off, so I put a junction box here. We'll put a smoke detector here. In the old part of the house, you can get away with putting in battery powered smoke detectors as long as they're interconnected. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of the house, but for right here I was able to get a box in, so why not use it for the smoke detector. On the next video, we're going to go ahead and finish this room up, put the trim in. We're going to have to extend the jambs on those 2 windows and do some taping, finish up the electric, and the customer's going to install the floor and paint. And then in the bathroom, we're going to put the tiled floor down. We're going to install the tiled shower and then install the tub, do the finished electric, do the finished plumbing, install the toilet, the sink, and then we're done in this side of the house. And then we're going to move on to the addition, and we've already been working on that, so I'll have a video about that soon. So I'll see you on either one of those.